Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're doing a comparison between the CZ Bren2 SCAR 16. Quite some time ago we did a comparison between the SCAR 16 and the CZ Bren 805, and there was a clear-cut winner. Well, there's undoubtedly a clear-cut winner again, but we'll save it till the end. Both of these rifles are quite comparable. I did not use the CZ Bren2 carbine that was put out with a 16-inch barrel. The reason being because it doesn't really represent the real Bren2. The real Bren2 has this proper gas system. This is a 14.5-inch barrel. This is an SBR, but this is more of the military version. Versus the one that was put out by CZ for the commercial market was much more civilian. It had a longer gas system. It had a big, heavy barrel. It didn't represent really what the gun was. It was more built specifically for commercial market. This one here really represents the military rifle. So that's why I chose to go with this one rather than to go with the carbine. And of course, the SCAR here we have here, this is basically the military version, just with a slightly longer barrel. Same barrel profile. Everything is pretty much the same. So, for as far as experience, CZ Bren2 has been in use with the Czech Army for quite some time. They're certainly very well used. They're very well tested. The SCAR 16, on the other hand, it has special forces use because of the cost. It prevents it from generally being a general purpose type rifle. But it's certainly been proven. However, the SCAR 16 was not chosen by U.S. SOCOM because of the issues that it had with it mechanically and as far as some of the parts breakage. The SCAR 17 has gone on to have service within SOCOM. SCAR 16, no. The SCAR 16 has seen some service with some militaries as a primary weapon, not many, and in relatively small numbers. So for as far as experience is concerned, you have to hand it to the 805 and to the Bren2. These are general purpose military issue weapons that have been used in Afghanistan, Iraq with the Czech forces, as well as other militaries. There's a lot more of them in service, and they have been proven, in battle for quite some time, much more so than the SCAR 16, in my opinion. SCAR 16 has gone through a lot of testing. However, the numbers aren't there, such as with the 805 and the Bren2, for as far as is experience. So, looking at both rifles, we have both 5.56 millimeter. We have both short stroke gas systems. Weight's comparable. You're looking at about 6.83 pounds for the Bren2. You're looking at 7.25 pounds for the SCAR 16. So, weight is comparable. Now, most things on these two guns are comparable. Even price, however, is not. You're looking at a much more expensive MSRP for the SCAR 16 than you are the Bren2. The Bren2 is imported. However, with CZ taking over Colt, you may see production of those within the United States, which would be nice. So first we're going to go over some of the outer aspects of the guns. SCAR 16. We have side folding, and we have telescopic stock. We have ambidextrous safety, ambidextrous magazine release. Bolt catch, we have the ping pong paddle on the side. We have a reciprocating charging handle, meaning every time you fire, the bolt moves, it actuates the bolt. This goes back and forth. So it does render some of your top rail a little bit useless because you got the charging handle latch going back and forth. We have a polymer module down here, which we'll see when we take it apart for as far as the trigger mechanism is concerned. We have a standard Stadag trigger. We have standard M16A2 type pistol grip on here. Now we do have a extruded aluminum upper receiver here. You do have changeable barrels. They require removal of the screws, and this is also very, very comparable to the way the barrels are changed out on the Bren. Very, very similar. Full 1913 rail, and we have 1913 rail panels on the side here and on the bottom. Front, we have a backup sight which is engaged. We have a gas valve too, suppressed and unsuppressed. And the barrel, cold hammer forged barrel, 1/2 by 28 threads. This has a primary weapon systems muzzle brake on it. However, you can put anything that you want on it. This is pretty irrelevant. This is just what the commercial guns have come with. But we have a good cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. The SCAR 16s are known for being very accurate rifles. This particular rifle here is just over an MOA at 100 yards with the Black Hills ammunition that I use. Accurate, reliable. The backup sight we have here is just a standard. It's made by FM, but it's elevation windage as well as 2 apertures Short range with a wider aperture, and long range a smaller aperture. On the left side, we have hook attachment points on the front and on the rear. On the Bren2, we do have a side folding telescopic stock as well. Now, first point of interest. This stock here is, in my opinion, much more durable than the one that comes on the Scar. You have a much stronger plastic. You have a stronger latch. These are not known for breaking under any condition. I have never heard of any issues with these stocks breaking on soldiers in the field. So this is definitely going to be a better point for as far as the Bren2 is concerned. Lower module. You have this pistol grip is a part of the module. You also have a removable back strap where you're able to put different inserts in the back to accommodate the shooter's hand. Now, I have to say that we haven't seen those here in the U.S., but they do exist. I have very large hands. This is a little small for me, but it's still comfortable. We have ambidextrous safety, just like the Scar, ambidextrous magazine release, but we have an ambidextrous bolt release located right in the bottom here. We push upward, hold the bolt open, it locks it open. Push down, it releases. Then we go to the left-hand side. We also have the ping pong paddle. So one thing that we do have as an addition onto here is ambi bolt release, as well as the safety and magazine release. Now another issue we have on here is the charging handle on the Bren2 is non-reciprocating, meaning so when we fire this rifle, this charging handle does not come back. Now, when we look at the Bren2, we have to also look at the 805, because the 805, this is a product improved 805. This was everything that they didn't like about the 805 improved, and this was one of the issues that they did improve. Now, for as far as the handguards on here, this is not the military standard. The military standard is a little bit different, but these were not imported other than in certain models, early models. But this particular one here is a replacement handguard where it does have a couple M-lock segments up here. This is one thing with both rifles that is probably one of their weakest points, is the fact that their handguards are very, very short. So you don't have a lot to hold on to with either one of them. You do have a little bit longer on the Scar, so I guess I will definitely give that to the Scar. Now looking at the sights we have on here, these are very similar type sights. These are on the rail instead of on the gas block on the front, which I will give that to the Scar. It's always better to have your front sight attached to the barrel, so with the thermal expansion of the barrel, the sight follows the barrel. That gives you a little bit more, better accuracy. However, most of the time you probably won't see it because it's more of a precision type thing, but it's more of a theory thing. But yeah, we have to be fair. We want to give credit where credit's due. Barrel is very, very similar. Cold hammer forged, chrome lined. This one here, you can see we have the bayonet lug that's pinned in place on here. Now, the muzzle brake on this one is the 1/2 by 28. They can also be found with the M14 by 1 left hand. This one here happens to be a 1/2 by 28, and this is a flash suppressor. Now, this is an excellent flash hider. I mean, the muzzle brake on the commercial version of the Scar, totally unnecessary. You don't really need a muzzle brake on a 5.56. Plus, it gives you the noise enhancement and the flash enhancement. This is a far better design here, and this is the actual military issue one here as well. Both have gas valves. This one here has a 3 position on it as well. It has a gas cutoff as well as a suppressed and a standard setting. This is one of the things that I do particularly like about the Bren, is the ability to get to the gas system and the ability to use it. It doesn't require any kind of a tool to push in any springs, so this is much easier to get to. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to start taking some things apart and looking at the insides of them. So for disassembly of the Scar, very, very simple. We have a pin, we push, and now we can remove the lower module. Now remove the recoil spring. Now we remove the bolt carrier. The gas system, we simply push downward on this lever, which is a locking lever. Unfortunately, I got to use something because my hands are... We pull outward, and you have your guide rod and recoil spring. We have our valve and our piston. Now what we have here is another big product improvement over the original 805. The original 805, this was as far as you went with a bolt, not with this one. To disassemble for cleaning, you push inward on your firing pin retaining pin. You have a little lever here that you use to release the firing pin. Just lift out your cam pin, and there you have it. Now you don't really need to remove the extractor, so we're not even going to bother doing that. So we have everything that's easily accessible. Now taking a look at the SCAR 16's disassembly, make sure we're empty. Another lever we just push in front. We remove trigger module. Pull downward on the stock assembly. We push in and we can remove recoil spring assembly. I'll take the charging handle, pull back to the rear, remove. Now we drop out our bolt carrier. Now this is one of the areas where it's a little bit not as convenient, is disassembling the gas system. With the tool, push outward, we remove the piston. This is a special tool that was designed for specifically removal of this piston because it is extremely difficult to remove. So this is a tool that was pretty necessary at this point to remove that. You get a little bit of carbon on the piston on here, and that will make it very difficult to remove. Now, although this does look like it's a long stroke, it is not, because you do have a piston that pushes rearward on it. So disassembly, push inward the firing pin retaining pin. We drop out the firing pin. Pull out the cam. We remove the bolt. That's all there is to it. Now we'll start doing some comparison of some parts. Now, the SCAR 16 on my right, Bren2 on the left. Without a doubt, the Bren has a much more durable lower receiver with it the way the design is. It is a much thicker, it's a better polymer, it's certainly much better made. Trigger. There's undoubtedly a much nicer trigger on the Bren2 than there is on the SCAR. The SCAR trigger is extremely heavy, and it's a little bit creepy as well. It's not a very much a smooth trigger at all. You go on the Bren2, it is a much nicer trigger, a lot less creep. Now, I will say the Bren 805 had a nicer trigger than this one did. I don't know why they decided to change that, but they did. But the Bren 805 trigger was definitely superior to that of the Bren2. However, this is a much nicer trigger. If you want to get a decent trigger for the SCAR, you have to go with the Geisley Super SCAR trigger to improve that. Now, looking at both, we have right side safety, right side bolt release. We have right side magazine release. Now when we flip it over, we have safety, we have magazine release, but no bolt release on the SCAR. As we look here onto the anti-bolt catch on the Bren is located right here in the trigger guard. We lift upward, it engages, disengages. So just by pushing on the upper portion engages, lower portion disengages. As we said, the SCAR gives you a standard pistol grip where you can put any kind of pistol grip on it you want. The Bren2, you have a removable back strap to make it larger or smaller. But overall, I think the Bren2 is a much better lower receiver. It's a much stronger material. Stock. I definitely believe the stock on the Bren2 is made of a stronger material. I believe it's more durable. There's no question that the shoe is more durable on the rear. You do have QD points on the rear of the Bren2 stock where you do not on the SCAR. Both of them are 6 position. However, again, the durability, the hinges are stronger, I believe, on the Bren2 stock than on the SCAR. For as far as the bolt carriers are concerned, this is not really any issue of contention. I do like the fact that it's lighter weight for as far as having the way the Bren2 is. It's not necessary to have this. You do have an incredibly low cycle rate on the SCAR because of the heavier mass of the bolt carrier. Both of them utilize the AR-18 bolt mechanism. We have the cam pin on the side. So these are both AR-18 designs. They're very similar to each other. However, you're using an operating rod with the Bren2 versus the SCAR. However, with the Bren2, we have an operating rod and a spring. So this gives you more of a lightweight as compared to that heavier bolt. Looking at your gas valve, basically a 3-position for each. You have a 3-position for the Bren2 for suppressed, unsuppressed, and single shot. You only have a 2-position for the SCAR for suppressed and unsuppressed. And of course, you have disassembly. When we look at the pistons that we have for each gun, the SCAR uses gas rings on their piston, which requires a little bit less gas because it seals off the chamber. The Bren2 does not. Oddly enough, you don't get a lot of excess gas with the Bren2, which you would expect, because it has to be overgassed to be able to overcome the gas that's sliding past the edges where this is sealed off. However, as far as disassembly is concerned, you don't have problems disassembling the gas piston out of the Bren2. As you see, you do have it with the SCAR. This gets a little bit of carbon frozen there. You have to use a cleaning rod or sometimes a tool to knock this out of the front of the gun. Now, looking at the receivers, this is an area where you don't see a lot different. The receiver is definitely a little bit lighter on the Bren2. Of course, we have a 16-inch barrel versus a 14.5-inch or 14-inch barrel, I believe this is. We have the same type of material. We still have the aluminum forgings or extrusions for the receivers. We have a non-reciprocating charging handle on the Bren, reciprocating charging handle on the SCAR. Both of them work very well with optics. Now, for as far as the SCAR is concerned, unlike the SCAR 17, the SCAR 16 does not have a reputation for damaging optics, where the SCAR 17 does. So that's one of the things we don't deal with the SCAR 16. For as far as fit and finish is concerned, these are both first-rate firearms. They're made by excellent companies. We really can't ding on any of them on any kind of manufacturing whatsoever. They both have the same type of removable barrels, where you remove the screws on the side, so you can change out barrel lengths. However, I've only seen 300 blackout for the SCAR 16. I haven't seen any other calibers yet for the Bren2. However, there are different barrel lengths, so you could swap out your barrel lengths for those. Looking at the bolts, it's hard to tell the difference between the one for the SCAR on my right versus the Bren2. They're virtually identical. Basically AR-18 type bolts. I will say the SCAR does have a little bit more of a aggressive extractor. It's a larger extractor, does grip onto more. That certainly is somewhat of an improvement. Other than that, they're basically the exact same. I mean, hell, they're probably, well, the SCAR's just a little bit longer. They're pretty much the same. Now for reassembly, take the bolt, make sure your extractor is on the right side. Drop in our cam pin. Our firing pin and spring, make sure we have the spring on there. We insert our retaining pin. We drop in our spring guide. We insert our piston into our valve. Our tool so we can... There we have it. We're going to drop our recoil spring. There you have it for the Bren2. SCAR 16. We take our piston, insert it from the front. Insert our gas valve. Push in the plunger. There we have that. Bolt carrier group. Insert our bolt. Again, extractor to the left. Cam pin. Firing pin. Retaining pin. Insert, and we line up our notch so we can insert latch. Insert our stock. There you have it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these bolts to the range and put a few rounds through them. Reliability, accuracy, everything is the same with both of them. As far as recoil is concerned, they're both the same. You can certainly feel you have a little bit of a higher rate of fire with the Bren2 as far as the cycle time. But overall, shooting performance-wise, they're both the same. Both using the same magazines. They both put every magazine through that I've given them. Ammunition has mostly been 55 grain full metal jacket, Mark 262. They shot everything that was put in it. We've seen the comparisons. We've seen the parts. We've seen the similarities. We've seen some differences. Now, which one's the better rifle? With my doubt, unequivocally, the CZ Bren2. I think it's basically a completely refined type of a SCAR. I mean, you can't look at it and not see the similarities in the manufacturing. You can't help but look. You can see the similar in the design. They're basically both the AR-18 design, and these two guns have a lot in common. However, if you look at just the engineering and the way they're put together, I think the CZ Bren2 was just a much better thought-out design. It's more slender. It's not as bulky. Better materials, I feel, that's made out of. It's got a nicer feature with having the ambi bolt release. I just think overall, between it being lighter weight, just as good a barrel. Accuracy between these two, there's no difference in accuracy between the two. Even price. This is less of a price. This one has definitely seen more combat experience for a regular army. Looking at more of a special operations type on the right-hand side. Again, we do have some militaries who have adopted the SCAR. Overall, my choice would be the Bren2 in a heartbeat. Again, this is an SBR version. This came in as a regular pistol. We put a pistol brace on it when it came in. And I liked the gun so much that I went and got the 922R kit, which was basically the stock assembly, the operating rod, the handguard, and disconnector on here. So we could do the 922R, so we were all ATF compliant. And then put my form in, got my tax stamp, got everything engraved, and this is a rifle I am very, very fond of. So I hope you do enjoy this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share.